they couldn't get in. It wasn't Roxanne's fault, it might have been with the internet or something.
No, it was my fault. I missed a step in the direction.
I just got your back, Roxanne.
Oh,
I just
thank you.
love
I
honey.
appreciate it, but I gotta own it.
I just love you, Roxanne.
But we're good now.
How you doing, sweet pea? Am I allowed to touch you? You're gonna get in trouble. Good. message on Facebook. She sent you a message. Okay.
Board of Education has reconvened in open session. All those in favor? No, the time is at 8:38. Is there a motion?
Motion to reconvene an open meeting.
Support.
The motion is made by Powell and supported by trustee Evetts. Roll call.
I'm sorry, I just need to find my agenda to record this.
You want to do roll call?
I got it, I just have to record this, I'm sorry. Is it Sue?
And supported by.
It was supported by, motion by Powell and support by Evetts.
German? Piles, yes. Evetts?
Yes.
Terrell?
Yes.
Kennard?
Yes.
We are back in open session at
8:39 p.m. There are 3 action items from the requested closed session. So move the motion. Number 1,
Move that the Board of Education authorize a formal investigation into potential interference with the Auxilio contract.
is there support?
And that the Board of Education authorize access to board members' emails for the purposes of this investigation.
Support.
Motion has been made by Powell, Secretary Powell, and support by trustee Evetts. Madam Secretary, roll call vote.
Piles, yes. Evetts?
Yes.
German?
Yes.
Terrell?
Yes.
Kennard?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion carries.
Move that the Board of Education authorize a formal investigation into potential fraud and/or embezzlement of district funds.
Support.
Motion made by Powell, support by Evetts.
Piles, yes. Evetts?
Yes.
German?
Yes.
Terrell?
Yes.
Kennard?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. The next action item, motion.
Move that the Board of Education provide official notice to its members, employees of the district, and third-party vendors that no individual board member can direct an employee to take action that is not consistent with an express action of the Board of Education, board policy, or directives of the board's designees when authorized.
Support.
Motion made by Secretary Powell, support by trustee Evetts. Roll call vote.
Piles, yes. Evetts?
Yes.
Terrell?
Yes.
German?
Yes.
Kennard?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion passes. The next item on the agenda is presentations. We have, they all left, but yeah, we should have done it first, but we're still going to make acknowledgement that we have staff retirement. Congratulations to Penny Dahl, who's teacher of Hell Creek Elementary. Also, the next person's congratulations to Simone Miller, teacher of Romulus Middle School. We'd like to say that when we have employees who have been diligently working with the district and have provided their service to us, and they've been with us, we like to acknowledge and we want to say thank you very much for your contributions to the district. So farewell and best wishes to you from your Romulus community family, and as always saying, forever an Eagle.
Madam President,
Yes.
is it possible that we can bring this back? It's mentioned that they had to leave because of the time that we're in closed session, and extend an opportunity for them to come back.
Yes, we could do that. Thank you very much, trustee Terrell. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Matters listed under consent agenda are considered routine in nature by the Board of Education and will be acted upon by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items. If any member of the board or citizen requests discussions of an item, the item will be removed from the consent agenda and will become the first item of business under the report of the superintendent portion of the agenda. Approval for the minutes of the Board of Education, July 25th, 2022, closed session, and has attachments, and also August 22nd, 22, regular meeting. The approval for the bills of payment as submitted by accountant Sarah Khan in the amount of $1,188,408.10. Also, the approval for the personal actions as submitted by Human Resources Director Don Scott the retirement of Penny Dahl, teacher of Hell Creek Elementary, effectively August 31st, 22. Also, the employment of Ashley Adams, teacher of Barth Elementary, effective 9/6/22. Number 2, Sarah Bissinger, teacher of Ramos Middle School, effective 8/30/22. Kata Cathley, teacher of Wick Elementary, effective 9/6/22. Also, Bailey Maynard, teacher of Ramos Middle School, effective 9/12/22. And Rendell Wooten, secretary of Romulus Middle School, effective 8/31/22, and that is for employment. Next, we have resignations of Daryl Dugans II, school psychologist for Romulus Community Schools, effective 8/30/22. So move that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda as presented or amended.
Support. Madam Chair, I do have a question. The closed minutes, I'm looking for the attachment, don't see those. Do we have those? Because,
Well, it says here on the agenda with attachments, so I'm
Right, so
assuming,
they're not here.
were they with the,
She usually
brings
hand
them.
delivers them.
so, Ms. Evans, would you be willing to amend, or who made the motion? Madam Chair, amend the motion just to remove those since we don't have those
The
attachments in Paula's absence.
so move that we remove the number 1, July 25th, 2022 closed session with attachments.
Support.
It's been motion made and support by trustee Evans. Was that Evans?
By
Okay,
you to support,
Evans.
yep.
Madam Secretary, roll call vote.
Evans?
Yes.
Terrell?
Yes.
German? Yes. Piles, yes. Kennard?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. The next item on the report is the report of the interim superintendent, Dr. Witherspoon. He has an FYI on student enrollment, FYI on employee retention bonus, FYI the summary report of Dr. Carrie Krantz, leadership curriculum consultant, and FYI other, if any.
Thank you, Madam President, and good evening, members of the board. I'm going to be very brief. Student enrollment for the current school year is trending upward. We do not have exact numbers because students are trickling in as the month of September progresses. So I can say that to date, all the students who have chosen Romulus schools as schools of choice are entered into the system, so they will be counted for state aid, which is the most important, one of the most important considerations. We will provide, as soon as our dashboard is established, we will have a breakdown by building of enrollment in each of our buildings by grade level. We are, in addition to student enrollment, we have a question of overcrowding on our buses at the elementary level. We're working with transportation to alleviate that overcrowding. We will have a discussion and information for the board at our next regular board meeting. But the supervisors in transportation have been working with us. In fact, we had a meeting this morning, and I think the options that we're looking at will be favorable in terms of the district and our parents. With regard to employee retention bonuses, HR has been successful in negotiating a $1,000 bonus for each of the bargaining units except for one, and that is that discussion is in progress as we speak. The item C is Dr. Krantz has completed several different contracts for the district, and though the results of that work would probably require a study session on the board because they're quite extensive, and it gives us a very detailed examinations of several of the internal things that we're working on in terms of changing. The work is not completed, which is the reason why you'll see under item item F, that I want to bring Dr. Krantz back to finish what we started. Romulus is oftentimes accused of starting things and not finishing them. So we have gotten some of the work done at the K-5, but we still have several things to do in the balance of K-5 and the middle school and the high school. The next thing is we are we'll have a full vacancy report, which is online from HR, and we can tell you, and we will be sharing with you a document that shows vacancies by building, by class, etc. And if I've forgotten anything, Mr. Scott can wave his hand and tell me that I'm missing the mark here. So, other than that, Madam President, that's, yes.
Turn it on. There we go. Thank you for that update. I did have a question. Is this the expected enrollment that was included in our packet tonight? You said that all school of choice students are entered in the system, so we will be getting those FTEs. But this, the expected enrollment papers that we received tonight, is this the FTEs that we're thinking we will have in October? Or what is this based on?
I'm hopeful that it exceeds the number that you have before you. We have received a waiver today to keep our school of choice enrollment open to the end of the month. And with that request, we will be able to adjust our count and our ability to receive state aid. So I would not use this as a baseline number today. I want to see if we can increase it. And I might add that we have a presence in the media, and it seems to be paying off. So we're going to extend our presence in the media for at least another 30 days, and all this is kind of tied together.
So when we have this number that shows an increase of 153 students at 2547, is this number based on all enrollments? Let me rephrase. So this number of 2547, we received information, President Kennard forwarded it to us today, saying that we have exceeded the 2,000 students we budgeted for by 125. So if we took the 2,000 and we've exceeded that by 125, we're looking at 2125, and this is showing 2547. So, and I know we don't know totals yet, but if you could explain the discrepancy between those two numbers of 400 students.
Yes, the number you see as over the budgeted amount is the only number that counts.
Right, okay.
Okay, that is documented in terms of MyStar.
Okay.
We will have students who will come, some who will drop out and go to other school districts. So that 24 or 25 number, I would not count that as a solid number.
Okay.
The important part is we're not in a decrease.
Okay. So your statement about transportation, and thank you for addressing that. Will you, because some families had been told that we could not offer transportation, will you be able to reach out to those families? Did you get contact information for them so we know who to have you reach out to and let them know that that is being remedied?
I don't have the name of the individual family or family members that were brought to my attention, but we, and the person who shared that information with that family has moved on to another district. So
they
that
lost
person
them.
was not authorized to say those kinds of things. Now, it was brought to my attention by transportation that there was a problem, and we had agreed to begin to work on that problem last week. Like I said, we met this morning, and we think we have a workable solution. And between now and the end of the week, we're going to be notifying families and the staff and the buildings that are going to be affected about any transfers or whatever we have to do to accommodate kids on the bus, our buses.
Mr. Garland. Okay, till he gets to the podium there, yeah, there was correspondence that was sent out to the board members pertaining to some of the thumbnail sketch and how things are shaping up in the district. And so that's what Secretary Powers was alluring to, and Dr. Witherspoon is speaking on. So we did have a few bullet points, but I'm going to let you address, and then I was going to wait and do and add to this at the end for the President remarks on some of the things that has happened in the short period of time that the school has been open. But I'll do that when you're done, so we can get it out of the way. Go ahead.
Just to answer Trustee Pyle's question, transportation has captured a lot of those parents who wanted, I'm trying to remember what it's called. There's a specific term where there are parents that they drop their children off at the bus stop. I can't think of the term right now, but they captured a lot of those names, so they have them. And so once we have this process put in place, they're going to reach out right away and let them know that they can accommodate them. So
I guess I meant the families that came to enroll and live in district, but were told there may not be room on the bus for their child.
Use your mic.
Sorry, thank you, Representative.
I was referring to the families who came into buildings with multiple children to enroll, and they live in district, but were told that the buses were full and they may or may not have transportation. So I was hoping we had their contact information to reach out and let them know, hey, we're going to fix this. But as Dr. Witherspoon said, that they've enrolled elsewhere. So that was my question.
well, I know that that's what transportation was trying to alleviate. Any person who lived actually in district would get first preference, but I also know that they captured several requests to have their students picked up at a certain stop, but they live outside of the district. So I do know, I thought I was told like 30 different students that they're going to now hopefully accommodate and be able to bring to the district. So once we get these processes in place, we'll have really good numbers and be able to answer those questions.
Does
And
that
Mr.
stem-
Garland, could you talk about the daycare situation as well?
Oh, that's what it is. It's called the daycare request. And so, you know, there's a daycare that wants to have the students picked up as well. And we're hoping that by making these little fine-tuned changes, that we'll be able to accommodate them as well.
There we go.
Trustee Evans.
So there is what's called a daycare provider form that needs to be filled out if you're working and your student gets transported to your mom's house, that there is authorization to drop them off somewhere other than your actual physical address, those kinds of things. If you're talking about school of choice, there was, and I remember this several years ago, under previous superintendents, that it was recommended that we somehow try and make a centralized pickup location for school of choice students. The problem that we were running into at that time was, where do these kids go if they don't live there? And it was a community pickup area, and you never knew if students were going to be picked up or not. So that's the problem with that type of action.
Mr. Garland, we, I want to say 2019, the board approved that we would send our buses into all of Inkster and all of Romulus, even if those students did not live in district boundaries. Are we still doing that? And if so, is that contributing to our buses being too full?
Now, I can't answer exactly to that question. I can talk to our transportation managers about that. But I do know that the way we're trying to reorchestrate or create these new processes should help us to do that. But I do know, and I don't know if, I'm sure Dr. Witherspoon probably sent it all to you, but every single district is having the same problems, and there's all these write-ups and all these things that they're struggling to do the same thing. So we have to be creative, we have to be flexible, and hopefully we can address these things in a way that is best for the children in our areas.
Okay, thank you. Under other for report for the interim superintendent, I guess I'm going to go ahead and let those who are still here with us and those who will be looking at our streaming, some of the things that have taken place in the last couple of weeks as school has opened for the year. Our superintendent provided the board some correspondence, which is a thumbnail sketch of how things are shaping up in the district. So during the first week, we just mentioned that enrollment appears to have increased by at least 125 students over the budgeted amount of 2,000 students. And also that all school of choice students have been registered and are in MyStar. And later on, an audit will be conducted to determine suitability of student class schedules, which should be completed by Tuesday of September the 13th. We also want you to know that the Meta Labs are 90% completed throughout the district. The high school has 6 labs operating, and it is anticipated the middle school and elementary buildings will be operational within the next 2 weeks. Dr. Witherspoon did a walkthrough of each building, and I had the opportunity to accompany him to 2, which was Hale Creek and Barth, during the first week of the school opening, and we did check entrances, and all appeared to be secure. However, a random review of vacant rooms showed windows unlocked, and some cases were open, and they will continue to focus on building safety, because that's been one of the things that the board has had an interest and concern over. And also, lastly, each building administrator will be working with our SRO to schedule ALICE training for staff. They are working diligently to have this work done as soon as possible, recognizing this 8-hour module must be coordinated between building staff and SRO. And some of the things that will be coming up, some of them we kind of like mentioned a few minutes ago, which is student record and academic records, transportation, assigning principals at the high schools, school safety, CTE, cosmetology, position vacancies, and one bargaining unit, it was mentioned, has not accepted the 1,000 bonus payments. And so these are the things that our superintendent has provided information to the board and keeping us abreast on what is going on and what has happened in the first week. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is under the interim superintendent action, downtown boxing gym, DBG, memorandum of understanding. So move the recommended motion. Any board member to read the motion?
Move that the Board of Education approve the memorandum of understanding with Downtown Boxing Gym with a term date of August 1, 2022 through July 31st, 2025, with an initial startup grant cost in the amount of $500,000. This meeting, the rationale of this meeting, we will revisit a partnership with DBG. This memorandum of understanding was provided by RCS Legal Counsel Eric Delaporte. This document is a Romulus MOU combined with the DBG version. Mr. Delaporte emailed this document to the board members on August 22nd. DBG has spent the last 15 years working closely with children whose systems have left behind, and they have seen every single one of them succeed, not just by graduating high school, but by being prepared for what comes afterward. The work of DBG is designed to help address systematic gaps. And the budget implications are general fund and ESSER funds.
Okay. Is there support? Motion has been made by Trustee Evans, support by Trustee Terrell. Is there any discussion?
I have a question.
Yes, was Secretary Powell?
Yes, so I know that on the motion that was just read,
You said what? Beg your pardon?
you say what? The motion that was just read states that it's a term date of August 1st. Today is September 12th. Have we already incurred costs between August 1st and now? Or do we need to amend this motion to be effective September 12th through July 31st?
To the best of my knowledge,
Amend.
Dr. Witherspoon,
Okay.
That's
just
fine.
amend.
right, this is fine. I think so. We should make adjustments to the amendment to be, today it's 9/12.
Today's date.
Yeah,
So,
9/12.
and then my other question is it says with an initial startup grant cost is in the motion. But we are taking this from general fund, correct?
It
It's a
says
common,
general fund and ESSER, I'm sorry. It says general fund and ESSER.
Right, so I see that in the budget implications, general fund and ESSER, but the motion reads, with an initial startup grant cost in the amount of. So should that language be stricken because I thought, like ESSER, we couldn't use ESSER funds, but we could move allowable ESSER expenses from general fund into ESSER. But this will solely be general fund, correct?
initially, yes.
Okay, so if we could make that
Can
amendment
I
to-
make a statement also? I'm sure if we look at the cost, the breakdown of the monies, that, the breakdown of the budget for the startup, preliminary budget, I'm sure some of those can't be ESSER funds and some should not, and then the rest should be associated to general fund. So I believe that it's broken down there, and how we assign it is up to our grant coordinator. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Weatherspoon.
You're correct.
So currently, we know we can't use ESSER, and right now, we haven't secured any grant funding, but we are going to try for subsequent years. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so it's to the maker of the motion, Ms. Evans, if those two things. And then my third question is, we have costs for year one and year two. Year two is $888,389. Since we do not have costs for year three, could we amend this to be a 2-year contract and then approve the third year when we get those figures?
I would encourage the board to let this work through the first year and then make some adjustments in if necessary. But we will be working to secure grant funds and also external funds to the extent possible. So with this partnership, it opens up new doors that we have not explored, and I wouldn't want to put a cap on this at this point.
So Dr. Weatherspoon, after our last meeting, I called Jessica at the DBG, and I spoke with her in depth, and I asked her about something that was on our initial proposal. And she is working on getting private donations and grants through DBG. When that happens, that will free up our requirements to them. So they are out there working on their own funding to support DBG Romulus.
That is correct.
In conjunction with what we have, that we have set aside for this. So this $888,000 is a cost to run this operation. It does not necessarily mean that it is a Romulus cost. Okay, so as you look at this, and I know I've had conversations with some people, I'm sure that there's equipment that they need, you know, and somebody said, well, we've got our own equipment. Well, we don't have the same programs that they have, I'm sure. So I'm sure they have to install some, or buy more of their computer programs for our students to be used here locally. So there's a lot of things that need to be tweaked. So as an example, $10,000 in materials. There are things that we have no idea what their materials are, but they're telling us that's what they need, all right? Capital expenditures, they might, I don't know what it entails, but they have stated, Jessica has stated at the microphone, she stated it to me, and anyone that wants to ask her questions, she's an open book, you can call her. They are working on getting donations and grants. And, you know, she said, I'll go to the airport. I'll find somebody at that airport that'll make a donation. That's what she told Judy and I when we were there. So she's on it. So just to let you know, this is an estimated cost. That does not necessarily mean that is what Romulus monies will pay for, okay?
Okay, so it'll be this amount less whatever they are able to generate in
Correct.
donations.
Correct.
So my question is, it goes back to, we see that for year 1 and year 2.
And then year 3, we should have even more, we will have more students, okay? And then that cost should start depleting because of extra, as it becomes as it becomes a more well-known program, and businesses and private individuals are making their donations. They want to invest in this. They might have their names on the walls in the gymnasium, in the auditoriums as donors for this program.
So I agree with that. And hopefully we can expand and really build a donor base so that the district is paying little to nothing. That would be ideal
That
for
would be
this program.
wonderful, but we have to give them the opportunity.
And I agree with that, but my question is, we see what numbers will be for year 1 and year 2. If enrollment doesn't increase, or donors, for whatever reason, the economy takes another hit, and people want to donate but cannot. My question is, could we go into this as a 2-year contract, and when donations come in, add a 3rd year, as opposed to right now approving a blank check for year 3?
Okay, and let me bring to your attention of on the memorandum of understanding on page 6, number 6, item B, when it speaks on funding. If at any point the district is no longer able to fulfill its obligations under the MOU because of the lack of funding or a change in law, it has the sole option of canceling this MOU without penalty and with no further contractual obligations by providing DBM with notice at least 60 days prior to the effective termination date, which means that if we are in a position at any given point in time, whether it's a 1-year, 2-year, or 3-year, we are obligated to number 6, item number B, in terms of funding.
So, Madam Chair, so when it says that due to a lack of funding, we receive $33 million per year. So is it due to a lack of funding because our priorities shift, or due to a lack of funding because we have decreased enrollment, and in order to keep this program, we may need to lay off staff or make other cuts? How is lack of funding defined for purposes of this contract? Because as long as we exist and we are receiving state aid or anything, we technically have funding.
Okay.
So I
let-
believe that this will be because of our budget, and the board approves the budget. If the board at some point decides that, no, we can't afford this, that is who would make that decision. Okay. Again, it falls back on the budget every year to what we do with our funding. So it would be at the board's discretion to cancel this or go forward with this.
So can that language be added in here at the board's discretion? Because I am, and I'm not, and I apologize, I know it's late. And
We
I'm-
are the district, though.
But it says, if the district is no longer able to fulfill its obligations under this MOU because of a lack of funding. Lack of funding, does that mean decreased funding or no more funding? Because a lack of funding, as long as we exist, we will always have funding.
We are the district. The board makes the decisions for the district, ultimately.
Right, but that does
They
not
come
say
to
that
us,
here.
they come to us with recommendations, and I'm reading this and how I am interpreting this, okay? The district / and the Board of Education makes those financial decisions when we get our budget. We have a detailed meeting of budget preparation by the finance director, and if we see something out of the ordinary that we don't like, we say, look, we can no longer afford this. And I'll give you another example of something that happened. It's called The Leader in Me. Okay, that happened at Barth, and it was a wonderful program. Wonderful. The board supported it. However, at some point, administration said, you can no longer afford this, so that has to be canceled. And the board, I don't know if the board voted on that, but I know it was removed, okay? It's a wonderful program, but funding did not allow for that. So this could be the same way, but ultimately it comes to administration making their recommendation to the board as the district to approve or cancel it within 60 days.
So is that acceptable to this board to add that language as determined by the board in approval of the budget? Since that's what you're saying it is, right? It's based on what the board approves. But again, this language here says because of a lack of funding.
Obligations are the same thing as approval or denial.
To fulfill its obligations under this, that means we are locked into this MOU. It says, if at any point the district is no longer able to fulfill its obligations because of a lack of funding or a change in law. It does not include because of a lack of funding or a change in law or the board doesn't approve it in the budget. So I'm asking, if that is what it means, could we make sure that we are covering it now in the approval and that is added language so that we aren't assuming?
All right, we will
So,
make that recommendation
that
to the attorneys. Who would handle that? You would get a hold of Mr. Delaporte and DBG? Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Is there any other discussion?
So are we approving this or are we waiting for the attorneys?
The attorneys will incorporate it and send us a new one, but there should be no reason for us to hold off on
All
it.
right, we should go ahead and approve it with the we should place this on the floor for vote with the recommended language in the contract.
Okay, pending that language.
pending
And what were
yeah,
the other
pending.
two amendments? You'll have to put those in. Did you make
Right.
a motion?
All right, so we need to have.
I need to change the
Change the
motion.
motion.
Now, the motion, the amended motion, is move that the Board of Education approve the memorandum of understanding with Downtown Boxing Gym with a term date of September 12th, 2022 through July 31st, 2025, with an initial startup grant cost in the amount of $500,000. Also, there will be language changes to be included, and that will be conducted through communication of Dr. Weatherspoon with the attorneys and DBG.
Is there support?
Support.
Yes, okay.
Support.
So the amended motion was made by trustee Evans and supported by trustee Terrell. Is there any other discussion?
Madam President,
Yes.
I just wanted to say, Sue brought out a very important piece that really impressed me was that the team that they have down at DBG that is responsible for generating grant funds. I was really impressed with the fact that there's just not one person. They have a whole team that work towards incorporating the funds so that they can continue the process. And then when I looked at the other projects that they were working on and the full support that they had with those programs, it's something that our kids will definitely benefit from. So I don't see this to be a negative impact to the district at any point.
Okay. Thank you for that comment, and also I would like to add to that before we continue finishing the vote, is that we as a district, whichever way this goes, if we are going to vote for this, also take note that we do have a director of community outreach and programs, and so one of the expectations from this board is to make sure that we are doing our due diligence and keeping up with these types of programs as we bring them to the district, and that is one of the responsibilities that falls under that. And so we as a board is Dr. Witherspoon, Interim Superintendent, that we want to make sure that as we broaden our programs and our interactions, that we have controls in place, we have practices in place, and so when the board, we get to these situations, we shouldn't at the 10th hour having to look at them and say, okay, we're here. So I understand the question that our secretary has brought forth in terms of the language, and I understand the information that's been collected over a period of time. You know, this is a very serious and very important step in whatever decision that this board makes, and so I want to thank everyone there for doing their due diligence and really examining, because it was really thoroughly examined by each board member.
Madam
Trustee
President.
German.
Yes, so I agree with Ms. Terrell in regards to just really exploring this program in depth, but I also want to consider what the young man shared earlier in regards to the sustainability of the performing arts programs as well. Whatever we can do for the students is going to be important, so I think that we should also consider those things that we already have as well.
Okay, thank you. If not,
Madam Chair?
yes.
Will the district be providing transportation, like they do in Eastburn, or will we be providing transportation for the students who participate in this program?
Dr. Witherspoon.
Wait for it.
If the children, the students enrolled in this program are eligible for after-school programming, then if the transportation guidelines allow it, a couple things could happen. One would be meals and transportation, only if we get reimbursed for it.
Only if we get reimbursed for the transportation and meals. Okay.
Well, transportation first and meals. Like I said, it's an after-school program, it's a couple nights a week, and we want to get it, make sure that it's qualified. We preliminarily checked it out, looks like they are, but until we have an agreement in place, none of this gets ironed out in its entirety
Okay.
until we go forward.
Okay.
But I will provide the board with an update
Thank you.
as the opening date comes, and all the particulars that you've raised in
Thank
terms
you.
of questions, we will keep you apprised.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. There's no other discussion. Madam Secretary, roll call vote, please.
German?
Yes.
Terrell?
Yes.
Evans?
Yes.
Piles? No. Kennard?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. Action item. The next action item is KSK Consultants with Dr. Carrie Krantz, Leadership Curriculum Consultant. So move the recommended motion. Any board member can read the motion.
Move that the Board of Education approve the contract services of a continuation plan for KSK Consultancy / Dr. Carrie Krantz at a rate of $125 per hour for 24 hours per week, plus mileage for a contract term of September 15th, 2022 through June 30th, 2023. The rationale: we will continue to need the services of experts like Dr. Carrie Krantz in district because the district is still playing catch-up. Even when all positions that are currently posted are filled, there is simply too much work for any of these people to accomplish on their own. We will need consultant experts to help us for the foreseeable future in getting a point where the work of district leadership becomes reasonable and in line with the workloads of administrators in comparable districts. At this point, there's far too much still needing to be completed to bring Romulus up to par with other districts. Consultants also assist with administrators and employees find early success and help to circumvent the existing pattern of new people leaving for better opportunities due to the heavy demand in Romulus. There is still much work that needs to be completed, and we have such a positive start, we cannot stop now. Budget implications, Title I and Title II.
Is there support?
Support.
Motion made by trustee Evans, support by Secretary Powell. Is there any discussion?
Could I ask Dr. Bledsaw a question?
Dr. Bledsaw, can you come before the board, please?
First, I want to compliment you on all of the successful startups that we've had so far this year. How do you feel that the curriculum will be handled through June of '23? Do you feel that this will be something that's reasonably accomplished? Or do you think that it will continue on further? What is your professional opinion of the completion of this?
Testing, okay. In my professional opinion, I have not shared this with you all yet. I have a plan to phase in the work that needs to be done, because the work is ongoing. So it's not like a one and done. So I honestly do feel that this is going to be ongoing. Right now, our focus is math and our focus is ELA and mathematics. However, we have to also bring in science and social studies, and we have to provide training for that. We're looking not only for the science and social studies, but also for the electives. So I had a conversation with the Spanish teacher. We really do need to bring Spanish into our middle school. You know, so those are some of the things that I want to get back on top of things, because right now, some of our students, especially our students who are in like our band program or some of our extracurricular activities, they are limited with what they can do, because a lot of times students continue their certain credit hours at the middle school level so that they can take some of the extracurricular activities like band in high school. So it's a multi-year plan. I actually have it written. I have not shared it with you all yet because it's still in draft format. And the way that I have the plan written out, for us to do everything that we need to do, for example, not formative assessments, but the summative assessments or common assessments that are consistent or in line with the district, with the MSTEP and other standardized assessments, even our PSAT and SAT, we need to have assessments that are similar in nature in terms of the types of questions that are being asked, so that when the students take these exams, they are not shell-shocked by the types of questions, because they are accustomed to the types of questions that are being asked. This works, it takes a lot of time, because the people that have to do this work are the teachers, are the people that are in the trenches. Those are the teachers. They are the ones that should be taken apart and helping design what those questions look like, in addition to the question banks. Also, just in the professional development in and of itself, right now, we have new teachers that need to be onboarded. When I say onboarded, I mean you have your seasoned teachers that are accustomed to teaching the way they've been teaching along with this new curriculum, but then we have brand new teachers who need, right,
Yeah.
you know, so we need to provide that support for them as well. So it's not a one and done type of deal. And Dr. Krantz, the work that she's been doing, I'm going to admit, on the day that we had to have a plan B for our professional development for teachers, I think that was August 31st, when the power was out here at the high school, we instantly had to have a plan B. The plan B, because only two schools had electricity, Barth and Hell Creek, Dr. Krantz was able to take the elementary staff to Barth. I was able to take the middle school and high school to Hell Creek, and we were able to get the job done. We had people coming in from California to provide training, so we could not have that day.
Right.
And so it was very instrumental, and the support that she has provided has been tremendous, working collaboratively.
So I see that this is 24 hours a week, and she's doing K-5 and 6-12. Where is her, where is her focus primarily going to be? Because I know that K-5, ELA, and math have already started, and it's a one-year implementation. So I guess what I'm really wondering is 24 hours a week, that's 4 days a week, if, you know, for the schools, hours.
So go ahead.
I guess I'm wondering, is this going to be a good, I don't want to say it's a bad plan, but for 24 hours, that's only 4 days a week. We have 6 buildings, right? Yeah, 6 buildings. Is this feasible?
A lot of the work that she and I do, we do behind the scenes. We do at home at night. We're on the telephone talking constantly because the reality of it, Ms. Evans, is that when we are here in the district, we are dealing with what we're facing with at this
At
point
that
in
moment,
time.
right.
So a lot of the work that we do is behind the scenes. At night, I'm on the phone with her sometimes 10, 11 o'clock at night because we're trying to get things together, especially when we had to do the Plan B.
Well,
She-
again, it says 24 hours, and I'm thinking we have 6 buildings. That's 4 hours a building per week. Is this really a feasible amount of hours? Or this contract, does it say that it is going to be increased as the need increases? Or,
Well, let me help you out there.
I'm at a, you know,
Let me
I-
help. You know, usually individuals who function at this level usually work beyond the hours that is allotted in their contracts or in their employment job descriptions. So, and if I'm not mistaken, I've heard Dr. Krantz, and I do know for a fact those administrators such as Dr. Bloodsaw, even interim superintendent and others, you know, they work beyond the hours that they submit before us. And I do understand what you're saying because with what we need, we know that is beyond 24, you know, beyond 20 hour part-time. Let me put it to you. But we also should keep in mindful that individuals at this capacity normally works beyond the hours anyway. So I don't know if that's how more, you know, clear to say that, but in terms of, I don't know where we were going with this, but I think Trustee Evans was wanting to make sure that the person is not going to be coming back. Now, correct me, I stand to be corrected. If the person's going to be coming back and saying, I worked X amount of hours and I should be compensated for that, is that possibly?
Or are you asking, do we need to add more hours?
Yeah.
I'm
or add
asking,
more
is
hours.
this a feasible complete hours for completion? Because again, I'm looking at this, we have 6 buildings, that's 4 hours a week. Or are we going to say, for the first 6 weeks, we're working in this grade level, and then the next 6 weeks, we're working in this grade level? And I don't need to know the logistics of it. I just want to make sure that this is a feasible number of hours per week to accomplish what we need to accomplish by 2023,
Well,
and have our kids get a good quality education.
to be honest with you, Ms. Evans,
There's probably no amount of time that you can put on it.
It's not. I mean,
Right.
it's really difficult to say. I mean, because, I mean, even with the work that I do and the work that everyone does around here, everyone, principals, administrator, everyone is working 2 and 3 jobs.
Well, and
And
that's
so
why I
it's
don't want
really-
it limited.
So,
I don't want the contract limited.
right, I understand.
And I
that.
know you can always, there can always be an amendment to a contract, but again, I just look at those.
I think that the
It's
concern.
it's a good question. I think I'm trying to,
No, I think if I can be honest, I think the concern is we're not trying to, overdo it because Dr. Krantz is passionate about the work that she's doing. And she and I, we really do make a great team. We work very well together. It's just right now, it's just not enough hours in the day, no matter how you put it. Can I really truly put a time on it or the number of hours on it? No, I honestly can't do that right now because like the President Kennard said, we all work above and beyond. If we could add more hours, I would definitely say truly add more hours. I'm speaking, I think she may be listening to this, so I don't want to, Dr. Krantz, I'm sorry if I'm saying add more hours, but I honestly feel that she's going to do that additional work. She's going to do it because, like I said, we've worked on Saturdays, we've met up, and we don't ask, I haven't asked for anything additional. It's just we have to get the job done, so we do it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Madam President, I have one quick question, and this may not be something that you're able to address, but I know Dr. Krantz has provided us with a comprehensive information as it relates to the work that she's doing. And then there was some mention of a study session. At what point will those data points be shared with our community? Okay. At what point will those data points be shared?
So that should be determined by the board. Yes.
So, my question is, the hourly rate, is Dr. Krantz open to a contract with a set amount as opposed to $125 an hour for 24 hours a week? The reason I ask is because if we have somewhere between 36 to 40 weeks left in the year, we're looking at $108,000 to $120,000 for part-time work, which is more than the curriculum director or any administrator gets paid. So I'm just wondering if we're going to spend any money, if we can bring this more in alignment with that.
I have not addressed that issue with her, but I would say if you put her on salary, you would have to be in the $180,000 range.
The other question I have, Dr. Bloodsaw, and thank you, thank you for your hustle, thank you for, in spite of what curveballs have been thrown, you've been a rock star, and thank you for continuing to go for our students, and I mean that sincerely, thank you. When we purchased the new curriculum for K through 5, ELA and math, there was one day of PD, well, kind of like an overview of the new curriculum. It happened during the day, or right before the end of the school year for like an hour and a half. Has there been any additional PD for our staff geared specifically toward learning this new curriculum that we purchased for K-5?
So for both, for ELA or for math? Or
Either,
for both?
yeah.
Okay, so for mathematics in August, we had an opportunity, it was not all of the teachers, we had an opportunity for some of the teachers to sit in with, it was another district that had some sessions open, and they did a virtual session with the mathematics, with the Bridges Mathematics. And these were the teachers, like some of our leadership teachers, oh my gosh, our lead teachers, thank you, I'm sorry, went blank. Some of our lead teachers that sat in, and teachers that were just, truly passionate about mathematics and were able to sit in to look at some of the work before we did our professional development on August 31st. So they kind of got a head start on it. So we're trying to operate in almost kind of like the trainer, getting some of our teachers really as much work as possible, exposure as possible. But our additional work will be coming during our PLC times. So we have our PLC dates, which is our early release dates, where we have 2 hours. We have 2 hours that are set up for this Wednesday, this Wednesday. So all of our Wednesdays, we have already scheduled PLC time for professional development. We're also looking into doing some, like what is called like the on-the-job training, where the teachers are actually teaching in the classroom, going through lessons. I've found that from being in this business for so long, over 30 years now, that the one and done, the sit and get does not always work. It's best when you sit down, go over a portion of the curriculum, and then actually facilitate it, and then debrief and to talk about it. The teachers are more engaged, the learning is more engaged because they're actually being a part of that. And so that's one of the things that Dr. Krantz and I have been talking about and discussing doing, but we were not sure what the next steps would be with her contract or potential contract. And so we have not ironed all of that out. Again, I did not want to share it just yet because I'm still in a draft format of what it will look like for the district. Another thing that I also have is looking at all of the curricular resources that we are actually using. We don't have it all lined up for all of our core areas just yet. We're working on it. So I was just sharing with a parent today from the middle school and talking to her about the plan that's coming down the pipeline for what I would like curriculum to look like, and as I work with the principals, what this will look like, because I want to be able to house all the resources in one area. So you all see that I'm a charts person, I'm a graph person. I try to give as much detail as possible, and so that's one of the things that I would like to have available so that we can post our resources to the website, but we don't have it all done yet. It's still in draft format. And so once I sit down and actually show this to you all will, be able to see really how much time that it will take to do this, because it is a lot of work that goes into it, especially if you want to do it well. I don't want to sit up here and piecemeal it. We, in order for teachers to gain ownership of it, they have to participate. They have to, participate in it when you want to get it done. And so I've said to the teachers several times, they've heard me say this in our professional development especially on August 31st, and when I've gone to the buildings, that it's going to take baby steps initially. We're not going to be able to do it all at one time, and I know some of the teachers are overwhelmed, or they're feeling like they're not getting everything that they need. It is a lot. It's a lot to learn in such a short period of time, but I understand that, being an educator and being a teacher, and so I'm not trying to overwhelm them or overstimulate them. Now, are we in a sense of urgency? Absolutely. So do I have to put a little fire under the rear ends? Absolutely. But we're doing it in a way that the teachers are not, hopefully that the teachers are not too overwhelmed or overstimulated.
Okay, thank you.
So, I'm sorry,
You-
right
you-
now in K-5, are the teachers using the new ELA and math, or just one?
So
Or-
they're using a combination. So they're using the new the ELA curriculum, but for the mathematics, they're using the number corners. Now, when the teachers that went to that session a couple of weeks ago, it was a handful of teachers, most of them, if not all of them, agreed that number corner was a significant part that they needed to start today. They needed to start it basically the first day of school, the way that it works out, because it talks about, like your calendar, September 6th. So you're looking at your calendar, you're looking at so many components that are integral to what the students are doing today, that they wanted to start that today. Some of the teachers, they're go-getters. They're going to just jump and dive into the curriculum, even though we say we can take baby steps. They're going to dive into it because that's what they do.
Okay. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there any additional questions for discussion? If not, we want to also make note, Madam Secretary, that we no longer have a fifth board member. We have now 4. And
Right.
it was for excuse.
9:31,
Yeah,
right?
at 9:31, correct. Madam Secretary, roll call vote, please.
Evans,
Yes.
Terrell? Piles, no. Kennard?
Yes. Motion passes 3-1.
Motion fails.
Fails?
Motion fails.
Okay, fails. Next item on the agenda is report of the Director of Human Resources, Dan Scott, FYI district vacancies update, and then action B, GSRP hourly wages.
You have in front of you, it was in your board packet, the staff vacancies per building. I believe this is what you had requested. You wanted to know how many long-term subs we have, what grades they were in. You wanted to know how many building subs we have. The building subs and long-term subs, of course, are two different animals. Long-term subs are people that are actually subbing in a classroom. Building subs are people that come in every day, and if a teacher is absent, they go to that teacher's classroom. So as you can see at Barth, we right now have a first grade, and they have, that's a long-term sub, and then there's a building sub. Do you want me to go through each one? You have it in front of you.
No, the board has the information in front of us. Is there,
I'm sorry, can somebody just like describe what this looks like? It's in this pack right here? What page or page number?
Well, about 10 pages in.
so this was as a FYI to the board. There is no action to this information, district vacancies update.
And Chair.
So, yes.
The next item
I'm
is,
sorry, I have a question for you, Mr. Scott. I'm just waiting for my mic to power up. As far as the staff vacancies, when it comes to our long-term subs, are we able to find long-term subs who are certified teachers, or are we just finding long-term subs? My question is, I know we've talked a lot about staffing every single classroom with a certified teacher. And I'm just wondering, I know there's a shortage, so I'm wondering if you've been able to successfully recruit for that, or if right now we are in a state where we just have to take the subs.
we are fortunate to be able to have subs at this point. Therefore, saying that they all are certified, no. That is very difficult. Any certified sub is usually teaching.
Right, unless
not
they're retired,
subbing.
right, unless they're retired or come back, or
Due
right.
to the fact of the shortage.
Sure.
I mean, I have reached out and joined a program called Welcome Back with the state, where they send out people in your area that are interested in coming back and going into the classroom, and we've been looking all over the place for people. So right now, what I can say is at least we have people in the classroom that they all have sub permits.
Okay.
Unlike our governor's program last fall where they didn't, or last spring, sorry.
And then the only other question I have on staffing is, it's regarding Meta Labs. How many vacant positions, and I'm asking because I know we got a report that you forwarded, President Kennard, but do we have vacancies in middle school Meta Labs, or are they all full? Are they all staffed?
I believe as of today, we have them staffed completely, with the exception that they're not, paperwork we're hoping to be finished within the next day or so. So as far as them physically being in the classroom, hopefully by the end of this week, they all
Okay,
will be.
thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there any other questions for this FYI? If not, the next item on the agenda is action B, GSRP hourly wages. So move the recommended motion. Any board member could read the motion.
And may I make a correction there before you
Yeah.
read the motion? That should be, budget implications is GSRP grant.
Okay, thank you. Is there any board member who?
Move that the Board of Education approve the proposed 2022-2023 hourly wages for GSRP. Rationale is personnel action, budget implications are GSRP grant.
Is
And we
there-
have the proposal attached.
Is there any support?
Support.
Okay. Who said it first?
Did Terrell say?
Terrell,
Then
okay,
I'll get-
so support by trustee Terrell. Motion made by trustee Evans, support by trustee Terrell. Is there any discussion? If there's no discussion, Madam Secretary, roll call vote, please.
Evans,
Yes.
Terrell. Piles, yes. Kennard,
Yes.
motion carries.
Motion passes unanimous. Action C, contract administrative assistant to coordinator of early childhood. So move the recommended motion. Any board member can make the motion.
Another correction there, that's GSRP grant.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone?
Move that the Board of Education approve the contract for Sandy Solgod, Administrative Assistant to the Coordinator of Early Childhood. Rationale, personnel action. What was the?
Grant.
GSRP?
Mhm.
Grant, okay.
Is there support?
Support.
Support by, motion made by trustee Evans, support by Secretary Powell. Is there any discussion? There's no discussion. Madam Secretary, roll call vote, please.
Evans,
Yes.
Piles, yes. Terrell. Kennard,
Yes.
motion carries.
The next action item on the agenda is the hire of the coordinator of adult and alternative education. So move the recommended motion. Any board member could read the motion.
Move that the Board of Education employ Scott Rourke as the coordinator of
No,
district.
no, that's the wrong
Oh,
one.
I'm
We
sorry.
pulled that from the
The
agenda.
adult alternative.
I
So
went
you're
in the
on- right,
wrong
you're num-
order.
you're Action E,
And
hire of coordinator of adult alternative education.
And the correction on
I'll
there,
let somebody read that because my papers are out.
Yeah,
general
of
fund
order.
and grant,
so the general fund for this also is grant.
and grant.
Does anyone have this motion?
Personal, recommended motion, move that the Board of Education employ Wendy Garush, Grzych, as the coordinator of adult and alternative education for Ramos Community Schools effective September the 26th, 2022. Rationale, personnel action, budget implications is grant funding. There's exhibits in the package that is confidential, resume and contract. And the funded salary is $80,000 plus benefits. Is there support? Motion made by President Kennard, support by trustee Terrell. Any discussion? If there's no discussion, Madam Secretary, roll call vote.
Terrell? Piles, yes. Evans,
Yes.
Kennard,
Yes.
motion carries.
Motion unanimous, carries. Action F, hire of coordinator for Meta A24 Career Technical Education. So move the recommended motion. Any board member could read the motion.
And
Move
here,
that the
Wait a
board,
minute, before we go, is this
grants
also?
also.
Is
Right,
this
grants.
also grants? Okay.
move that the Board of Education employ Krista James as the coordinator of Meta 24 and Career Technology Education for Romulus Community Schools effective September 26, 2022. It is a non-union position, personnel action, general fund, and grants. Salary is $90,000 plus benefits.
Is there support?
Support.
Motion made by trustee Evans, support by Secretary Powell. Is there any discussion?
I have one question. Was Dr. Prince in on these interviews and selection?
He was in the interviews with Dr. Gardner,
So that is a yes.
yes.
Okay, thank you. Any other question? If there's no other discussion, Madam Secretary, roll call vote.
Evans,
Yes.
Piles, yes. Terrell? Yes. Kennard?
Yes. Motion passes. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is coming from the Manager of Operations Facilities Maintenance, Mr. Garland, FYI Security Assessment, Safeware, Inc., and also Student Transportation. And then after that, will be coming with us REMS Generator Replacement Applied Industrial Technologies.
Wait, what are we doing now? Are we not doing Scott? I thought we were.
Yes, FYI, Security Assessment.
Yes, we've reached out to Global 6G and Safeware, which is the consortium. We have a price that we're going to bring before you, but Dr. Witherspoon wanted us to do a study session, so we're requesting that the board set up a time where we can meet with them virtually and you can ask whatever questions you want of this firm. They're filling up their assessments. They were hoping to get in to our schools in October to start doing our physical assessments, our assessments for our security systems, our cameras, do we have enough protection for guards, our SROs, all those things that you had in that little booklet. They're going to come in and do it for us. I don't have a problem telling you the price if Dr. Witherspoon's okay, just so you're aware that it is close to the price that the former security firm wanted to price for us. And then what they'll do after this assessment, this audit is done, they'll give us a secure pricing and give us a lot of different decisions based on that, on where we should go moving forward. Is it okay to mention the amount?
Sure.
The total amount for the full physical risk assessment and all the different, those, I think there's 13 different assessments, is $32,386.37. They actually added the tax, so we would have to have them take that out, which is a really good price from a consortium. It is, this is a federal organization, Safeware. They do it all over the country. They're known for their school safety.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
So if we could just maybe find a date that works best for you guys, they said they would make them self-available.
Could you can you give us some dates?
Sure.
And then what I could do is circulate that to the board?
That's what
And
they
then-
would like.
Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah, President Kennard, I'll get those to you, and then you guys can choose and pick which one works
That's
best.
great.
okay, thank you.
The next thing we discussed a little bit, it was about, I believe that's the next item if you want me to move on, the transportation update.
Beg pardon?
Would you
Yes, is
like
that
me to
okay?
move on to the
Yes.
transportation update?
Mhm.
Well, our transportation team worked hard to come up with some ideas. Am I at liberty to speak of what we're thinking of doing? So, in its inception at Romulus Elementary, we as a district decided to bus our children from the two mobile home parks that are adjacent to Romulus Elementary all the way to Hale Creek, which makes no sense. So one of the things that we would like to do is take those students, we believe we're getting the numbers now, it's between 35 and 40 students, and have them attend Romulus Elementary. And then that frees up an entire bus on this other side of Romulus, over by Hale Creek, to pick up the influx of students that we seem to have in the Oak Brook sub and Hale Creek sub, which is very good news for us. So that's one of the good moves. And the other is to go, and I wish we would have thought of this sooner, but sometimes things come to you later on, is to have a two-tier pickup and drop-off for our elementary schools. And that way, we can try to get every student, especially at Wick and Hale Creek, which seem to be the ones that are most affected by this, we'll be able to get each student by staggering times and getting them there to be able to get to school. And that way, we could, double the routes and pick up the children.
Thank you. Is there any questions for Mr. Garland on the transportation?
Gotta give it a minute.
Okay. So these students that could be moved from one building to the other, what I would like to suggest, it would be nice to have a welcome evening to invite all the parents whose children are affected to visit Romulus Elementary, meet the staff, have an open house for them, welcome them, because it's very easy for us to say, let's move kids, but it's not easy for kids to move. So I think it would be a good suggestion, not a good suggestion, but a recommendation to do that.
Miss Evans, are you being tender? Yes, yes, yeah. I'll leave that to the powers that be. That sounds wonderful.
Okay,
What was the number of students you said? that
It's
would-
between 35 and 40. We're gonna get that number exact from Scott Rourke. Everything's on Scott, so we're gonna go ahead and get that from him.
all right, thank you.
Next item?
Yes, next item, if there's no other increase on FYIB. The next item is action C, RMS generator replacement, Applied Industrial Technologies. So move the recommended motion by any board member, and after we'll get into discussions, Mr. Garland can say that. So any board member can read the motion.
Move that the Board of Education approve the purchase of a generator with Applied Industrial Technologies for Romulus Middle School as per quotation number 510940833 in the amount of $49,655.61. The rationale is that the generator at Romulus Middle School no longer functions, and this is a safety concern as the generator controls all emergency lighting operations. And this would be coming from the sinking fund, and we're going with consortium pricing, so we don't need to get the bids.
Is there support? Motion made by Secretary Powell, support by Trustee Terrell. Any discussion? If there's no discussion, Madam Secretary, roll call vote, please.
Piles, yes. Terrell? Yes. Evans? Yes. Kennard?
Yes,
Motion carries.
motion carries unanimous. All right, the next item on the agenda is action D, bid pack number 5A, Romulus Middle School, additional costs. So move the recommended motion. Any board member can read the motion.
Move that the Board of Education approve additional costs due to the permit delay on bid pack 5A as per the attached Barton Malow letter in the amount of $234,542.87. There was a change order for additional cost due to multiple delays during the permit process with Wayne County on bid pack 5A. See attached the letter from Barton Malow dated August 9th, and the schedule delay has caused increased cost with contractors. RCS should not incur additional charges above the board-approved budget. Payment will be from contingency funds built into the project, as well as change order returns to the district on this project, which will offset additional costs.
Is there support?
Support.
Motion made by Secretary Powell and support by Trustee Ebbets. Any discussion? If there's no discussion, Madam Secretary, roll call vote.
Piles? Yes. Evans?
Yes.
Terrell? Kennard?
Yes,
Motion carries.
motion passes unanimous. Okay, thank you very much,
Thank you
Mr.
very
Garland.
much, Board.
All right. The next item on the agenda is any reports from any board subcommittees. Do we have any? If not,
Madam President,
yes. Okay, from which committee? Who's,
Madam President and members of the board, we are, the administration is working very closely with the subcommittee on 2 parcels. And I think the work's going to continue. I don't want to steal the thunder of Trustee Evans. But this is the first time that we've had some activity that's meaningful, and we appreciate the due diligence on the part of the subcommittee and the kinds of engagement in terms of working with the proposed buyers and our real estate agent. Several people have asked the question, do we have a real estate agent? The answer is yes. Has the agent been engaged in working with us? The answer is yes. He's pushing us for an answer. But the subcommittee is following through with us, and I appreciate that.
all right, thank you.
So regarding Merriman, we did have an offer. We tried to dicker a little bit on the price, and they came back and said, no, it's this number or nothing. So I have communicated that with Dr. Weatherspoon. Ultimately, we have to really think about the negotiation of that building. We put in how much money, Billy, for the roof at Merriman? 100? Well, anyway, we had to repair the roof. We had to repair some plumbing at that building. And as it sits vacant, it just becomes more and more cost. So we just have to look at what, you know, you can ask $1 million for your house, but what are you going to get for your house, right? So we really have to take that into consideration. Dr. Weatherspoon and I have been talking about that. So how much did we invest in that since they've left?
Well, the roof was roughly around $12,000.
Oh, okay.
Just in repairs.
Okay,
To put a roof on it, it's gonna be $330,000. That was the most current bid.
okay. So there you have it, another $300,000 into a building that we want to sell. And then our profits go down naturally. Regarding the old Beverly School, we did get an offer on that. Billy and I talked about it. We have to start doing some insurance requests made by them with removing of trees, putting up more signs, no parking. I went by this weekend and there were 6 cars parked in the parking lot. The police are requesting us to move the cars, have them removed. We put up signs, they tear them down. So what we really have to look at, and I went back and I said, well, here is the appraisal from several years ago. The building is structurally fine, so how about if we go for the full appraisal, and I'm waiting to hear back from them on that. So, you know, we're getting interest in our properties, and that's the main thing. What we have to do is we have to decide when we want to bite the bullet and just say, done, see ya, right?
Ms. Evans, what is the offer on Merriman?
800.
Okay, thank you for that information. Beg pardon?
No, I was just.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you for that information, Trustee Evans. The next item on the agenda is report from the board president. I do have a couple of things here that we need to get through, and the first thing is FYI on the superintendent search. As a reminder to the board, we have a special meeting that's scheduled for September the 28th. And so in that information, we will be having a presentation of the search agencies in terms of determining which one will move forward with conducting the search. I just want you to know that correspondence did go out to the name mentioned search firms. There was 4 of them, and we have packets here for each board member to review within the next 3 to 5 days, where I will be polling the board to see who and what will be the number of the individuals that will be coming back before us. And I will give you those packets before we leave here today. And also those members who are not here, we'll make sure that they get those copies so they can review. And I'm asking you to review them expeditiously. We are on a time schedule and according to what the board has instructed. Also, I want the public to know that once we identify who the search organization is going to be, all that information will be presented on our website, and we're going to make sure that our stakeholders and our public is involved in the process. We're going to make sure that we have a timeline that's developed, and we will bring that information forward. So I'll make sure that you get that information today to all the board members. The next item, information that I have, is that we had opening day for return back to the district, where we didn't get a chance to address the staff. We did mention earlier that we did continue with the timeline in terms of what our curriculum director and administrators as they came back. So I would like to make some remarks to our staff and making sure that that we're welcoming you back this year. And so to all of Romulus Community School staff, I hope, and the board hopes, that everyone had a wonderful summer, first of all. On behalf of the Romulus Community Schools Board of Education, we want to take just a few minutes to thank you all for what you do for this community, learners of all ages. And we want you to know that you are appreciated. The job you do is hard. It's hard every year, and we know that. And it's been even harder for the past 2 years. We are hopeful that COVID-19 situation is more workable this year, but even If it is, we know your job will be more challenging than ever because of all the ground our students need to do or to make up. We know this, and we want you to know that we know this. However, know also that your work matters. We believe in all of you, and we are here to support you. This board is here to support. On a brighter note, this is an historic year. We on the board spent the summer working on top district leadership, looking at every facet of Romulus Community Schools. The facilities, the programming, enrollment trends, student scores, extracurricular offerings. We looked at everything. And we've started taking action on the things we've identified to provide our educators more tools and our kids more opportunities. Our vision is that this school district serves as the heart and hub of the community. It's what every school district wants, even if they don't say it like that. But we are talking about it, and we are focused on it. This board is focused. I know, and each board member knows about Eagle Pride. Pride is in this community, the district's past, the present, and its future. Pride is a crucial part of turning our young people into prosperous, successful, happy adults. The board and I wish all of you a great year ahead. Thank you. And just a brief announcement. We did get an information or email from the city of Inkster pertaining to information technology skill trades job fair, where they're partnering with the Inkster Chamber of Commerce, and they're having all districts that's affiliated with Inkster to have a booth. And so Romulus is going to be represented at that table. Mr. Parker will be representing the district. Myself and Trustee Evans will be there, and if there's any board members who would like to attend that, I sent you guys an email if anyone would like to attend that. We do have some handouts about our district that we'll be able to distributing at that time, I believe. And so that is going to be on Wednesday, September the 14th, 2022, from 11 to 4 p.m. at the Booker T. Dozier Recreation Complex, 2025 Middlebury Road, Inkster, Michigan. And so we'll be more than happy to represent the district if need be with Mr. Parker. The time is from 11 o'clock a.m. to 4 p.m. And next, the board is being invited to, I know I sent the email out to everyone pertaining to the Parade of Light, the elected officials float. Those individuals who responded was myself, Secretary Powles, and Trustee Terrell. And so we're going to be representing the district. If any other board members who did not respond, please let Paula know before the date. And that is all I have as president. Is there any communications from board members? Yes.
Then we'll go. First, Mr. Davis, thank you for bringing up our music program. I do want to share that we do have a budget for that. It comes out of the student activities account. We just recently learned that because we weren't understanding why there wasn't a band budget, but we did talk to our finance director, Shelby Fryer, and said that those expenses come out of student activities and should be routed that way. I don't know what is in that, but maybe that could be something, Dr. Weatherspoon, that we have our finance department look into to make sure it is sufficiently funded. You mentioned marching band. Marching band, a lot of people think that that is an extracurricular. Marching band is actually a class. So we would, as a district, be obligated to make sure we're providing curriculum materials, things that are needed, so that it doesn't continue to be a hardship on the boosters for fundraising. My other thing I wanted to bring up was the ALICE training. I'm glad that we are hearing that training for our staff is going to happen. I heard that it's going to be 8 hours of training. Do we have a date that we want this to be completed by, or is this just, you know, kind of open-ended? Right, and right, so as a coordinator, are we saying we would like this training to be completed by? Okay. And then the last thing I have is, I'm glad that we are working on making sure every single in-district student gets transported to and from school. My request would be that before just moving students from one elementary to another, that we maybe first of all see if there's volunteers, and if that helps, and just consider that elementary buildings are individual learning communities and feel very much like a family. And so, because there are connections, and connections are a vital component to student learning, that we not be hasty to disrupt those.
Yes, please respond.
The issue you just raised, we're sensitive to that, but we will have to move with a sense of urgency, because we do not want to get into the school year and disrupt children in the middle of the school year. Those who are not be able to be transported right now, they're the ones who have raised the question about the availability of transportation. We've come up with a solution, and you've heard about it tonight. We have to implement that as soon as possible. So, as I've said before, we intend to make the appropriate calls to parents, etc. I like the idea very much of having a welcome night. We have to work that out with the building administrators, and hopefully we can get this done before, by start of school next week.
Will we be, when will we be starting our latchkey services?
We are trying to clean that up in terms of the staff and also the licensing, and that is underway as we speak.
Thank you. Because I'm wondering if between morning latchkey and then our after-school programming, if that may help kind of break up the groups being transported and free up space on buses after the end of the school day, or at the in the morning.
We just have to see how it works out. I don't have an answer for you.
Do we have a projected start date for latchkey?
I do not.
Anything else? If not, so move move the motion for adjournment.
Support? All in favor? Aye.
Any opposes? Meeting is over at 10:15 p.m.